I'd like to call the August 11th Somersworth School Board meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Matt Hanlon,
Yes.
Steve Potter,
Here.
Tom McCallion,
Here.
Jerry Cannon, Cody Donahue,
Here.
Ed Lavasser,
Here.
Maggie Larson, John O'Brien,
Here.
Todd Marsh.
Here. Okay, will you all please stand for pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Comments by visitors?
Steve Hodges, the Athletic Director. Just wanted to give you some updates on some things that have been happening at the state level since the last meeting we had. The NHIA updated the return to play guidelines. Currently, our state is in phase 3, which basically allows for everything for high school athletics. That's practices, that's scrimmages, that's games. That's where our state is set. I also have emailed all of you the practice plans that each fall coach came up with that would follow or exceed the guidelines that the state put out, so you could see how practices could be done and be done safely and effectively. One of the biggest things that just happened was the NHIAA adjusted all the start dates for practices and days to play. So we're starting on August 14th or August 17th for some sports. Now all practices have been moved to the first date of practice is September 8th. And games now aren't starting until September 10th for golf, September 18th for soccer and volleyball, and September 25th for spirit and football. And football would obviously have the 14-day acclimatization period, which they'd have to go through after that started anyway. Also, which I feel is very important, is the NHIA has allowed schools to basically do whatever they want with schedules. So what we're seeing in the state now is schools are basically scheduling locally and scheduling minimum number of games. They've gone to all the tournaments, will now be open tournaments. So you could theoretically play 1 or 2 regular season games and still be able to participate in a tournament at the end of the season. And like I said last time, there are schools playing in New Hampshire, 100%. My recommendation for fall athletics is that we start 9-8, like a lot of other schools are going to be starting. We schedule a few local teams, but we don't schedule them till the first or second week of October. That gives us about a month of practice time to show everybody what can be done and how it can be done safely. I said this last time, a lot of AAU seasons are just getting over with from the summer, and there hasn't been this widespread outbreak of cases in New Hampshire. And we're talking travel softball, travel baseball, travel lacrosse, AAU volleyball, travel field hockey. They've all been playing all summer, and we haven't seen this giant spike of cases coming from anywhere. And that, like I said, if we start scheduling games in October, that gives us time to show what we can do and play local teams. Now, if it comes to October, if our first game is scheduled for volleyball October 8th, and we're supposed to play Farmington, and things aren't going well in either community, we can always shut it down, cancel that game, wait another 2 weeks to play. There's tons of flexibility with what the NHIA is allowing schools to do, and I really feel we need to take advantage of that. And it's basically just taking a wait-and-see module and letting our kids practice and hopefully play once we get in October. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I prepared some notes regarding the phone. Calvin Lambert. I'm a student athlete as well as the class president of the class of 2023 at Somersworth High School. And I'm concerned for the physical and mental well-being of my fellow classmates, especially the student athletes, who partially rely on the structure and social interaction that their sports provide. A recent study from the University of Wisconsin found that 2/3 of student athletes are experiencing depression. The same study also concluded that a return to sports would be the perfect remedy for this mental health pandemic. And because, as we know, team sports are extremely beneficial to mental health by boosting endorphins as well as self-esteem, while also promoting life skills such as perseverance, determination, and the value of communication and teamwork. This study also mentioned that sports are part of a student's identity, and I think that's spot on. Being an athlete, that's part of me. That really is part of my identity. Putting on that black and blue jersey every Friday night of the fall underneath the lights, that's huge. That feeling, that's just a huge part of me and who I am, which is why we're in danger of losing this essential part of ourselves this season, which is why we're asking for a choice to play or to not. Last season, we were asked what our why was. Why do we play this game? We play it because we love it. We love everything about it. We love the challenge, the grind. We love the brotherhood that it forms, which can be seen by these gray shirts that we're wearing right now. We signed these shirts last season as signifying our brotherhood. We carry the words of our brothers on our back to show our support for them. We love this game, which is why we are here fighting for it. Safety is obviously a huge concern of the board and for us as well, which is why weeks ago we held a virtual meeting where we discussed safety for on and off the field. We discussed the NHIA guidelines that recently published, and I believe that these guidelines will minimize risks to a very, very low level, the same level of any other activity that we're already partaking in during this pandemic. And I believe that we will follow these guidelines. I know we will follow these guidelines, because football is a game of passion, enduring, and adapting. We are all passionate about this game, which is why we will endure through any hardships and adapt our game to follow any and all guidelines set by the NHIAA or the school. Our seniors have been dreaming about this season since they were peewees. Some of us, we've been in the weight room countless hours preparing. We deserve a chance. We have earned a choice, a chance to play or to not. And I understand it's not for everyone, but this game is so essential to who we are. And although it might not be right for some people, for some of us, it's the most important thing. And so we're asking just for you guys to allow us to have this choice to play this game. This is so near and dear to our hearts. Thank you for listening.
Hello. I'm Ethan Marshall, and I'm a senior here at Somersworth High School. We've all come here to make sure that we have football happen this year, one way or another. Football is not just something we do. It's so much more than that. It's a bond that can only be made playing on the field. Whether it be playing or learning or practice time, it's something that is so important to me. And as Calvin said, it's something, it makes me who I am. Whether it be practicing, I just love this game so much. And my brother has told me my whole life that a championship is something I have to accomplish before my 4 years are up. And he's told me that my whole life. And playing my senior year is something I've dreamt of for so long. And I can't even believe this is even happening right now, that we might not even play. If football had never been in my life, I genuinely mean that I would not be the person I am today. In my everyday actions and decisions, I use the lessons I've learned from football to make those choices. Please do not be the people to take away a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take home a championship for us. We've wanted this for so long, and I'm sorry, I just want this so bad, so please make your decision right, and thank you.
Hello, I am Braden Powers. I'm also a senior here at Somersworth High School, and I just want to talk about the football season, obviously. You know, like Calvin said, a lot of us, I know me and a lot of other teammates have struggled from like mental health issues and all these other things, and football is one of the only things that keeps me going. It's one of the only reasons why I'm standing here today. And like Ethan Marshall said, I've been dreaming for this season, for this final season, ever since I started playing, since the first time I signed up. And I'd do anything. I'd follow any rules, follow any guidelines, just to have this one last season for me to play. play alongside my family and all my brothers just one last time. And that's it.
How you guys doing? My name's Jesse Demers. I live on 12th 3rd Street. I'm an alumni of Somersworth High School, and if you hear the emotion in my voice, it's because hearing these guys talk. It's bringing back a lot of memories for me. I was a captain of this football team 20 years ago. I played with Coach Lambert, and both of us were lucky enough to go and play in college, up at Bowdoin College, one of the best schools in the country. Most kids don't get that opportunity. I hope you guys can hear the emotion and the just pure passion in these guys' voice. They will do anything. They'll follow any guideline. In New Hampshire, we are low on the numbers for this country nationwide. These guys, I know how committed every coach on this team is. I'm friends with all of them. They will keep these guys in line. And I'm telling you right now, guys, there's a lot of kids where football is their life. I went to one of the best colleges in the country. I never learned more lessons than I did on that field out there on Memorial Drive. Told myself I wouldn't get emotional with this, but it really means a lot to me, and I hope you guys know how much it means to them. Give them the opportunity to play. I don't think you'll regret it. I know they'll be forever grateful. I know the coaches will be forever grateful, and as a citizen in this community, a long time, I grew up here, taxpayer for 20 plus years. I hope you guys make the right decision, because it's the right thing to do for these kids. Thank you.
My name is Alan Manigo. I'm a junior here at Somersworth, and I've been playing since Pee Wee, and I know everyone on my team, and I know we'll follow any guidelines that you set. I swear on it. We'll do everything. And one thing about me is that, I'm a big guy, so things come natural to me, and I know I can speak for a lot of people in my class that us juniors, we have a lot to prove. We really do. And this season's our season to prove this season. And I know my seniors, they have so much experience on that field out there. And they just, with that, and the juniors, the sophomores, they need an example. They need an example for the rest of their seasons on how to be successful. And the freshmen, they can learn from this. So not only are you, the seniors giving them a season, but you're setting up the Somersworth program for future success. By denying this season, by voting no, other generations, other kids, they're going to lose out on what these seniors are going to lose out on. Just please give me my season. Please give us our season.
My name is Aiden Pratt. I'm a senior at Somersworth High School. Been playing this game since 2nd grade. It's something I look forward to every fall. Everything's pretty much been said. I know that everyone sitting behind me is going to do their part, be as safe as possible, and follow guidelines so we can have our last year. My senior season is something I've dreamed about, since, like I said, 2nd grade. When I started playing this, I built bonds with all my brothers and teammates on this team. Everyone is just so happy and looking forward to playing, and it's going to be really heartbreaking if we can't have our last year. We push ourselves until we can't even breathe anymore. We try our best. We don't play dirty or anything. We're a clean team. All we want is, like Ethan Marshall said, we want our championship. Football is something that people can get away from. When I have rough times at home, my home life, I know I can take my anger, aggression out there somewhere else rather than doing it on the streets or whatnot. We have a bond. We're so thankful for what we've had and what we've accomplished. We just want to kind of seal it off on our very last year and just have our last season And I think everyone will be very appreciative if we can have that.
Hi, my name is Carrie Clark. I'm a mom of one of the players. I'm not going to cry. So I wrote my notes on the paper because I'm not young, and they write it on their phones. Anyways, I wanted to come to you as a mom and also as a fitness professional in the community. I see my kids thrive with sports. I see your kids thrive with sports. You're looking at statistics from just 2019. Suicide rate is like the top second of kids 10 to 19 years old. With COVID, we don't have those statistics out currently of what that's going to do to our kids, but we do know that exercise plays a big role in our mental health. We know that kids are not going to go out on their own exercise. Most adults don't go out on their own exercise. They need that structure that sports gives them, right? I can go into all kinds of research that I had written down, but I'm just going to say that CTC has come out with great guidelines, and NHIAA has come out with great guidelines that we can follow. I helped establish these protocols within my own studio that we help run in Dover that is safe. We have women coming into the studio every day, and their cleaning procedures are top notch, and we have no kinds of illnesses coming in. So that speaks volumes, I think, for me, and it should speak volumes for you, that we can help this. We can help our children have a safe season. That is all. Thank you.
Hello again, everybody. Jeremy Lambert, 208 West High Street. For you that don't know me, remember me last time? I was a sweaty guy. You did it to me again, put me in a 100-degree room. But I'm going to make an effort for these guys. It is okay to smile behind your mask, guys. Look, what I just want to add today, I said a lot of it at the last meeting, but there's something kind of critically important that we need to emphasize for these boys. These young men behind me, several of them are going to have an opportunity on November 3rd to make a big choice as well. They're going to have an opportunity to vote for the leader of this nation. They're entrusted with that. For the first time in their life, they're going to be entrusted to do that. They're asking to be entrusted with another choice today. They're not asking for you to mandate something. I mean, the school decision was different. You had hundreds of kids piled into one building. This team is about 40 kids in a cohort, outside, with optimal air exchange, with safety things in place, with masks, which, by the way, on August 4th, the state epidemiologist actually said in his transcript, he applauded football for coming up with that development because he was pushed by a member of the media to try to make a statement that sports wasn't safe. And he didn't. What he said was, in their current form as is, it is not practical. He said you had to be creative. You had to come up with something different. And the example he gave was football, coming up with those extra face shields. If the state epidemiologist is using that for an example, that means he has trust in that process. If you read Dr. Lockman's article that just came out, he also talked about this type of decision is not between a risky decision and a no-risk decision. There's some risk in everything. That's the world we live in right now. But we're faced with actually a pretty good opportunity thanks to the NHIA. The way that they pushed out the schedule gives us a built-in phase approach, which you all came up with on your own for school. It's the same built-in process. You have an opportunity to tell these kids, yes. Tonight you can say, yes, have your season, but you have to prove that you can do it right and safe. And you get to watch in increments. Is this proving out? And then you can decide, like Mr. Hudson said, in a few weeks, if it's proving out, let them have that chance. Let them have that. It's not forced on anyone. It's not mandated. There are some people it's not right for, and I would never try to talk them into it. But for some of them, it is. For some of them, it's a piece of them. It's who they are. Can you imagine having somebody else decide whether or not you can be true to who you are? That would be miserable. That would be heart-wrenching. But this is what these young men are faced with right now. And it's not no risk versus high risk. We can mitigate that risk. We gave you our practice plans. My coaching staff right now, almost all of them have been COVID-19 certified. I've got a couple left. They'll finish the class. It's an important thing to make sure we have those protocols in place. Have that safe for them. Is it extra work? You're absolutely right. By God bless America, it's worth it because it's for them. And yeah, I will do that. I'll do the extra time to wipe down the pad, wipe down the football. They deserve it. Please, when you make that decision today, give them the opportunity to make a choice to be true to who they are. I mean, it would be wonderful to have a championship. That's great, but that's not why I'm emotional. I played on teams that were undefeated. I played on teams that didn't win a game. It doesn't make a difference. And quite frankly, it doesn't make a difference if it's football or band or volleyball or cheer. These are key components of the citizens of this city that make us special. Please don't take it away from them. Please give them an opportunity to follow the safety guidelines that the experts put in place that said it's possible to execute this. Trust them. Believe in them. And I promise you they can live up to those expectations. That is the only guarantee I can ever give. I guarantee that I believe in them. Please do the same. Please believe in them. Thank you.
A different perspective than them. My daughter plays softball, and so she has, in fact, a coach just as passionate as
Could you
he
just
is.
talk into the mic so that the audience can hear you? Thank you.
My daughter's coach basically did exactly what he is doing for the football team today, and he set up guidelines, set up everything, and went overboard. Instead of practicing at 6 feet, they were 8 feet, did everything. And we had an entire season of tournaments, and parents came out in their individual things. If you didn't have that, you had an umbrella so that you were isolated. Everybody did whatever they needed to. My daughter's team came in second in New Hampshire this past weekend. And everything was everybody took responsibility. The guidelines were exactly like he said. They washed the softball in between. It was an entirely successful season with nothing that had happened. Almost pretty much all summer long they've been playing, and actually she's not here today because she is in fact practicing softball. I think that it's important that kids, as a preschool teacher, I know that they learn certain lessons, and even in a crisis, children need to learn that they have the ability and their voice matters, that they are equal to everyone else, that even if their opinion is different, that they respect each other and they try the best. Their dreams are just as important as others. And before I tend to go off on a tangent, and so I wrote this stuff down. I wanted to just put out there a little bit of today's statistics that I got off of New Hampshire, nh.gov. This is an official New Hampshire government website. The New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services says that as of today, the city of Somersworth's population is 12,174 people. Of that, we have 1 to 4 cases of COVID within our city. That's it. We don't know exactly because it's pink, which means it could be one person, could be 4 people. But Rochester has 5, Dover has 6. These are not a large amount of numbers for the 12,174 people we have in our city. It also says that in the entire state of New Hampshire, there is 1,359,711 people, and in the entire state of New Hampshire, there is, as of today, only 316 cases of, we're like the hope, the goal of our country. Everybody wishes they were us. So, I don't understand, even in our school guidelines, they gave us the low to, the steps, which I completely think are perfectly acceptable steps. But with our numbers, I don't understand why we're not starting a little later, on that phase process. And I think that most people in this town, because we respect each other's differences and our opinions, would have zero problem with any of the choices that are made for even the school system if a goal were set, like Dover has set a goal after the first trimester, we'd like to get to blah, blah, blah. And if we knew that, then starting completely remote would not have a problem. But anyway, I've gotten off the topic that it's perfectly safe, and I think the kids should be allowed to play their sports because we need to be physical. They need to get out there and have their mental health and get out their aggression somehow so that we don't end up like other states. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Any other comments by visitors? Dr. Godomsky, do you have any comments to read?
I have a few additional emails that were sent. These were reviewed by the board, so any emails that came in went to the entire board. Just other students that have sent in emails and spoken in support. Zach Day, Ethan Turgeon, and Owen Clark have also sent in well-written notes to the board as well for consideration. In addition to that, we've had a number of parents that have sent these in as well. And again, all of these will be in the minutes, and all of the board members have received these. We have received correspondence from Roy and Shannon Remick in support of athletics. Also from Felicia Gibson in support. Carrie Powers in support. Mary Robles also emailed in support. Tina Marshall has emailed in support. Julie Turgeon has emailed in support, and also Tatum Evans has emailed in support as well. All of those have been reviewed by the school board. Separate from that topic, I have had 2 specific emails that were requested to be read in because these people could not be in attendance. One is from Katie Ann Zink. It says, "Good afternoon. First, I'd like to express my thanks for your careful decision and thoughtful discussion about the return to school plans. I will be the first to admit that a return to remote learning will be difficult for my family and child. However, I know the decision that was made is in the best interest of the students as well as the teachers and staff in mind. It was not an easy decision. There was no clear answers to the best solution. I appreciate the thought and attention you put into the plan. With that said, I would like to provide comment on some discussions about the return of sports that happened last evening. I should know my child is not the age to participate in school sports, and I'm sure the decision made about returning to school sports will have significant impact on the older children of our school district. With that said, it will also have downstream impacts on my rising first grader that I would like to call attention to. If there are exposures that result in positive cases as part of the extracurricular activities, this will directly impact all students and their abilities to move forward during the phased reopening. It appears to me that if the decision is made to host school sports in the fall, the sports programs are put before the continuation of in-class instruction in the eyes of the district. This is, in my opinion, puts the benefit of a few school athletes over the benefit of all. If the district is remote learning phase, school sports should be delayed or canceled until we are in phase that does not require remote instruction. I am extremely concerned to hear the potential exposure to students during football workout during the summer months. It is concerning to me to hear the coaches stand at the microphone and state they say the absolute confidence they will ensure their students adhere to social distancing guidelines when there has been already potential exposure connected to the football program. If you look at what is going on in professional sports currently, it should be a clear indicator that returning to sports is not the right decision to be made at this time. The professional sports programs have unlimited resource and frequent testing, and they're already experiencing outbreaks. We are not in a position where it is safe for children to benefit from classroom instruction, but sports may be able to be planned. This is extremely concerning to me. The coaches stood at the podium that evening and said that some of the students may never put on pads again. In response, I say to them, my child will never have kindergarten graduation or first day of first grade. We will never get those experiences back, but I continue to look at the bigger picture and impact to our community. We are all sacrificing things to ensure the safety of our community. School sports should be no different. The other correspondence I had was from Cindy Lou Ferris. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm writing to all of you today to discuss the return to remote learning school plan. First, I would like to say that I'm very pleased with the Phase 2 plan and the biweekly meetings approach to determining the current state of affairs relating to COVID-19. I'm a parent that's working half hours due to COVID-19. I'd like to discuss a proposal to ask the school board or city council to use some of the CARES Act stimulus grant monies to purchase Chromebooks for the families in need. As per the recent emails, letters, and social media posts, accountability is expected, and some of the plans for support need to be addressed, providing technology and devices to include Wi-Fi where needed. I am sure not every family will need support, but many will. I understand the school administration is giving us time to get things in order, but some families do not have the financial means. Many school districts like Berwick use Chromebooks for their students. They are successful. Let's be honest here, COVID is not going away, and our numbers are slowly going up. Remote learning is going to be a lot longer than expected. Gathering in large group only spreads the virus faster. I cannot afford to lose any more work hours, nor can my autoimmune compromised child be affected again. I'm asking the school board to review this proposal and discuss a plan moving forward to help the Somersworth families and their children achieve a successful year by obtaining the technology required for extended remote learning. And those are all the correspondence I had.
Do we have any further comments by visitors?
I'd like to say that.
Could you please step to the mic so everybody can hear you? Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody at home can't hear you or see you from back there.
Her comment that the numbers keep going up is inaccurate. If anybody is to go on to nh.gov and watch, I've been watching because my daughter has been playing softball, and it started in the beginning. Our current cases were at 700 in the beginning of the summer when they started, and let me tell you, I am faithful to watching this, and it has gone exceedingly, obviously, down every single day. All the time I look, we're down to, like I said, 316 currently. So I don't know where she's getting her information. The numbers are not going up in our area. Just wanted to put that. It's public. You can look at it.
Please remember that all of these are public comments and everybody is entitled to their comment.
Absolutely, great point. I did just want to make one quick point based on that message, sir, which we addressed last time and clarified. There was no exposure at a school activity. That was verified. All of that was outside of school. That was nothing to do with a football workout. It just happened to be the activities were canceled as a result of a precautionary case. So, like you said, everyone is entitled to their comment and their opinion. but I also think it's important to make a verification of fact that that did not occur. Also, about any statements that I'm making about guarantees, again, I can't guarantee virtually anything other than that we will follow our guidelines, because that's what we're expected to do. The same as any teacher follows their curriculum and their protocols. I also want to just point out real quick that, now I had a brain cramp. Another beautiful thing. Hey, Cameron. Now I've lost my train of thought. All right, so yeah, on that note, thank you for listening. Did just want to make that clarification. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Tatum Evans. My son's going to be a senior. And I have written
step forward so people can hear you?
About how important this is to my son, but I also need to share with you, I own my own business. I've been working with the public for the past 16 weeks now after being shut down. I'm a hairdresser, so I'm in very close proximity to other people. There has been no case, I'm in Durham, of anything being transmitted, because the state notifies you the minute you're in that tracking group. The statistics, it depends, what, there are sites you need to go to. All of that aside, there are 40 kids on a football team. We can't compare football to being in the school. A school building is, how many kids are in the high school? 400? It's very different than 40. I really would like you to, whether you like football or you don't, if you don't think football is important, if you think it's a dangerous sport, there's a lot of opinions involved around football. But to my son, it is who he is. He's been quarantined since, when did you get out of school? March 17th?
Yeah, something like that.
The impacts, they sit in their room. There's no physical activity. The works, they can't go play basketball. No matter how many opportunities we get, the town took down the basketball hoops for a certain amount of time. These kids need this. And I don't feel like we have the right of taking that away from them. I'm not a scientist. I've talked to many that have sat in my chair that are doing research on the university. And they all have very different opinions on it, but that's what I mean, they're opinions. We don't know. I am a parent, and if I am willing to take the risk, that boy right there is my heart. I would never want anything to happen to him or any of these boys. They're all my kids. But we don't have that right. It's an opinion. This is, if the coach is willing to put his life, his family at risk, who are we to stop that? If parents are willing to let their kids do something, who are we to say they can't? I believe in Mr. Lambert, and I know he will take care of my children. He will take care of all of these children, because we know each and every one of these, it takes a village, and these kids are all mine. And I hope they're all yours, because they all matter, whether your child's in band, or theater, or runs track, or plays football. It's what matters to them. Thank you.
It's kind of hard to follow up, but I'd just like to point out that I believe in one of those emails it said that there's been COVID around the football team. I'd just like to say that the cases that were around the football team had nothing to do with it. It was from an out-of-state experience. And also, in one of the emails, it was stated that larger groups would have a bigger impact in spreading it. I work at Market Basket. I'm assistant manager. I'm there almost every day. I've been working there all through quarantine, around hundreds, thousands of people every day. If we stay safe, we're very safe there. We wear masks, we clean. And there's only been, I think, 2 cases throughout this whole time. So if the football team does the same thing, I think we should be all right.
Any further comments? Okay. Seeing none, do we have an action on the consent calendar? Motion on the consent calendar.
Mr. Chair, I can make a motion in regards to that, but I'd also like to make a motion to move agenda item 8.3 as early in the meeting as you think is possible or reasonable. I don't know if the superintendent's. What's that?
I don't think it's going to take us that long to get there. I think we'll be able to move pretty quick.
Okay.
Unless there's a motion, does anybody second that motion to move 8.3 allowed?
You've got the consent calendar first.
I'd like
Sure.
to make a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Matt Hanlon,
Yes.
Steve Potter,
Yes.
Tom McCallion,
Yes.
Jerry Cannon,
Yes.
Cody Donahue,
Yes.
Ed Lavasser,
Yes.
Maggie Larson,
Yes.
John O'Brien,
Yes.
Todd Marsh.
Yes. So now you're looking for a motion to suspend rules?
I mean, if you don't think it's going to take that long, that's
I
fine.
really don't.
Okay.
Is there a motion? Are we going to move forward?
No, no motion.
We've got 4.1 superintendent's update.
A couple of brief announcements. We've been working through with the transportation company, working on plans on modifying any kind of bus services that we need for if we're bringing in small groups of kids for different services that we talked about. We're also in discussions with the transportation company as well as the food service provider to see if there's a way that we can continue the food service and the lunches and the breakfast and be delivering those. So I've got a meeting with transportation as well as food service next week to go over all of those things and see if we can continue that. Almost everybody has probably received the information on free and reduced lunch applications in the mail. Please fill those out and send those back. Those are very, very important, not only for you and your family to be qualified for free and reduced meals, but also a lot of our federal funding gets calculated on our percentages of free and reduced lunch. So please take advantage of that. If you need assistance for any of that, please call my office and we will be glad to take you through that and help you out in any way that we can. In discussions with the transportation company, again, we're going to be utilizing the service probably increasingly as we go through the school year. We have secured a 10% discount on the bill for transportation, as well as obviously not paying anything for career tech or extracurricular activities that don't run or anything like that. So we are moving forward in trying to secure some savings as far as transportation goes. If you remember back to last year, we did have quite a substantial savings in the last few months with transportation, not only with regular ed transportation, but with special ed transportation as well. The reopening plans for each building have been posted online. In the next few weeks, you will receive additional information from each of the buildings and from individual teachers, giving details on remote learning and the needs and the schedules and those types of things. So please be looking for that information coming out. If you have any questions, please call the building administration in the particular building that your son or daughter is attending, and they will help you out with additional information. And again, we're working through food service, trying to figure out how we can continue that with so many families with food insecurities, working through how we can both pay for that as well as distribute that on a regular basis. So additional information on that will come out in the next couple of weeks. Those are just a couple of things that we were working on, and that's all I have for tonight.
Okay. So next up is standing committees, budget and revenue.
We have not met since last meeting, so nothing to add.
Building and grounds. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Building and grounds, we talked about asphalt repair. We also talked about the Somersworth High School carpet replacement. We talked about the striping bid, and we've talked about the air sanitizers that are going to be going out, hopefully. So we'll see if we can get those and move forward with that. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Educational programs and community outreach. Maggie?
Yes, thanks. We met on the 29th, and the topic was communication from the board and the SAU and how we can communicate officially information, because it's really critical to communicate the right message and what goes out to the community and have the community hear that and receive that adequately, and what channels we can do that in. You know, what community events, a lot of things are fast moving right now, so we looked into social media, we looked into how to just officially get the right information out in the right way. And our next meeting is Thursday, August 20th.
Okay.
Thanks.
Legislative advocacy.
Thanks. We did not have a meeting for legislative advocacy. We're going to resume work after the summer break and get back to defining the goals and objectives for that committee. Or if it's okay, I'll just roll right into policy. So for policy, on the contrary, we've had many meetings. We've met several times just since our last board meeting. We met on 7/27, 8/3, 8/10. I don't know, it's about a weekly cadence that we're on. And we've really been focusing a lot on the policies that are impacted by our decision to move to remote learning, or at least at that point, the possibility of doing so. You know, as you can imagine, there are a lot of different policies that have implications, you know, as simple as a disciplinary policy that says if somebody's misbehaving, they go to the principal's office. Well, there's no principal's office if you're doing school from home, so there were many things that we had to work through. Several have come up for first reading tonight. One of the ones that we spent significant time on going through several revisions was the remote learning policy itself. Now, this was a net new policy, not something that we had as a draft or a existing form from the New Hampshire School Board Association. And so this really outlines the expectations of the district in terms of coming up with that remote plan. So as that was being developed, as everyone saw, we had the remote plans for each of the buildings and for the district overall that align to that. So that'll be something that we'll be able to go forward and carry on if there's other events that we need it for. A couple of other things that you'll see tonight under new business, other than those 7 policies. We have one more remote, I guess, related policy that we're working on, which is not on there, which is the pandemic and epidemic response. That was an existing policy that we've been working to strengthen. Specifically, we added a mask mandate to that to make sure that we've really kind of codified the safety expectations for any students, staff, visitors, and the like who are in the school building. So love seeing everybody. Every single person here has got a mask. It's not a problem. It's super easy. Everybody's going to get used to it. First graders, kindergartners, it's not going to be a problem. So, but it will be something that's mandated. And then finally, what that's allowed us to is at this point start to move on to some of the other NHSBA policies that we're a little bit behind on. So we have updates from both spring and fall of last year, as well as some newer policies even from 2020. And so some of those are going to be coming up for first reading in our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Joint Commission did not meet. JBC?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you can see, if you look through the school, you walk through this school or middle school, you start seeing the lighting is actually dim or lighting up when you go down the hallway. EEI project's going along really well. Obviously, the CTC building is pretty much almost there. They're still working on the high school. They're still working on the middle school. Things are going really good at Maplewood. Project with that is rugs being put in. Also, you got things getting closed up, painting going on. All these walls get closed up now and stuff like that. So you'll start to see that come together really good in the next couple weeks. Bounce over to the middle school. You have the elevator that's getting shaft pretty soon. Hopefully, things will start closing up there as we start to move on. working on trying to make sure we get the internet and all that stuff get back together and so they can move into there. And that's it for the JBC.
Okay. We have no city council update, so we move into 6.1, policies for first reading. I'll be looking for a motion for these to be read by title only.
I make a motion to read by title only.
Second. Wait, hold on. Are you doing the review of the bids?
Not yet.
We're at 6.1.
We're not there yet. So it's been motioned and seconded. We have a roll call, please.
Matt Hanlon.
Yes.
Steve Potter.
Yes.
Tom McCallion.
Yes.
Jerry Cannon.
Yes.
Cody Donahue.
Yes.
Ed LaBasser.
Yes.
Maggie Larson.
Yes.
John O'Brien.
Yes.
Todd Marsh.
Yes. Motion passes. Please read by title only.
Okay. DK, payment manifests. EDCA, employee use of electronic devices. EHAC, electronic digital records and signatures. GBEBD, posting school district or student information on personal social media platforms. IFB, remote learning. JH, attendance, absenteeism, and truancy. And JHB, truancy.
Okay. Those will be coming forward for second reading at the next meeting. If you have any questions pertaining to those, please let the committee chair know, and he will try to respond to you as soon as possible. 6.2, review of bids.
In your packet, you have information on 3 different bids. The first one is on parking lot striping. This is for striping as well as some crack sealing. And we had 2 bids. One was for $15,875 and the other one's for $15,550. And the recommendation coming forward is to accept the North American infrared bid for $15,550.
All right, so those are all just for review. Do any of them need any specific motion tonight? Are we looking to suspend rules for any of them? Are any of them, like I know the air purifiers might be a timely manner for purchase?
Let me go over the asphalt repairs first, and then the air purifiers is time sensitive. As far as the asphalt repairs, again, the North American Infrared came in with the only bid on that, and that is repairing some potholes and other cracked pavement in the back of the high school, as well as in Maplewood School, in the parking lot. So that will be, that'll come back for next time. The air purifiers, we had discussed the issue of having an old building at Somersworth Middle School, and the issues of the volume of airflow through there, and one of the recommendations from, with COVID-19 is to increase the volume of air in a building. We don't have the opportunity to do that at the middle school. We looked into redoing some ventilation, and it was right around $1 million to retrofit the building. What we do have the opportunity to do is to do some air purifiers for each of the rooms. These are, what we're looking for are UV air sanitizers that will be placed in each building, circulate the air in the room, and will also kill bacteria, viruses, black mold, fungal growth, and other things as well. So we are recommending, we're still in the research mode of getting that, but it is time sensitive. We would like to have the board approve up to $30,000 out of the CARES money for the purchase as soon as we can of the air sanitizers, purifiers for the middle school.
Do we have any discussion on the bids? Do we have any motions?
I'll make a motion to suspend board rules to allow for action on this bid.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Can we have a roll call, please?
Matt Hanlon.
Yes.
Steve Potter.
Yes.
Tom McCallion.
Yes.
Jerry Cannon.
Yes.
Cody Donahue.
Yes.
Ed LaBasser.
Yes.
Maggie Larson.
Yes.
John O'Brien.
Yes.
Todd Marsh.
Yes. Okay, do we have any discussion? John, Steve, sorry.
So the only question I have is I was looking at the spec sheet, and are we going to buy enough to ensure it meets the square footage
of each classroom, because some of these classrooms are probably slightly bigger than the spec sheet is showing.
Yeah, we've priced out, what we're thinking with this particular unit is two per classroom. They cover about 500 square feet, so our average classroom is around 900 square feet, so 2 in a classroom should cover us.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Can I just have
Go
a
ahead.
clarifying point? Are these able to be in the classroom while students are there?
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, these particular units are specifically used in ambulance, home, office, clinics, daycare, those types of things. So this particular unit, the UV is inside of the unit, so it's safe to use.
So this is one of those issues where we had this as part of our return to learning discussion, and all of the things that, in order to get kids back in the building, all the things that would need to take place in order to do that. And we talked about everything from busing to that air unit. I got a lot of response on that, to devices, to also stuff, and understanding that we were holding 1.2 million that we were going to be looking forward to using for all kinds of other things to help bring some of these, buildings up to where they need to be educationally, and that's kind of out the window now because we need it for PPE, for other things. And when we started looking at busing and those type of things, we had no idea. I mean, busing could be another 500,000 or more. We're already moving through that money very, very quickly. Now you're talking about $1 million for that. You can see how quickly the return to school, if we're not extremely careful from a budgetary standpoint, can blow a hole in our taxes like that. So we've got to be very, very careful with what we're doing and very, very responsible. It's not just from a safety standpoint, it's also from a budgetary standpoint. This is the hardest thing we've ever had in front of us from every angle that we've ever looked at. So I just want to keep that in mind. Something needs to be done there. This is something. It's better than nothing. I think I would approve a motion to move forward with that purchase. Pause.
Just quickly, I'm on Building and Grounds, and we had a very good discussion about it. And I had a few questions I typically do. And I agree that it is something and it's better than nothing. I did some of my own homework on this. And, not ideal, but it's also not $1 million. So I think it's effective. From what I've researched, it's effective enough to warrant the money that's spent for it.
No.
Just the last final thought here. The good thing about these units is that we can use these regardless of if we're experiencing this pandemic. They'll be good to have in our classrooms, so I'm happy to, support this. And I guess I'll make a motion to, would it be authorize the SAU to expend up to $30,000 for air purifier units?
Yes.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Can we have a roll call, please?
Matt Hanlon.
Yes.
Steve Potter.
Yes.
Tom McCallion.
Yes.
Jerry Cannon.
Yes.
Cody Donahue.
Yes.
Ed Lavasser.
Yes.
Maggie Larson.
Yes.
John O'Brien.
Yes.
Todd Marsh.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, 7.1, old business. We have policies for second reading only.
Policy IKFG, career readiness, pathways, and credentials.
Do we have a motion on the policy?
I make a motion to accept the policies as read.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Can we have a roll call, please?
Matt Hanlon.
Yes.
Steve Potter.
Yes.
Tom McCallion.
Yes.
Jerry Cannon.
Yes.
Cody Donahue.
Yes.
Ed Lavasser.
Yes.
Maggie Larson.
Yes.
John O'Brien.
Yes.
Todd Marsh.
Yes.
Okay. Old business 7.2, which is why I didn't want to go right to 8.3. We have a discussion on co-curricular and athletics. We could have gone to 8.3 and then made a motion and had discussion, but it's on there. I'll take first stab at it. We had a long discussion about this last time. It's tough. Everything that's going on right now is tough. Like we just talked about from a budgetary standpoint, trying to bring the middle school up to code to just have people inhabit that building, and everything that's going on. And when we had our discussions last time, starting with remote learning and going all the way through tabling this discussion, everybody looks at everything differently. And nobody's wrong. and everybody has their own cares and concerns, and they're all valid. I think that as we went through our discussions last time, the board pretty much agreed that our first and our second obligations are the safety of our staff, our students, the community at large, followed by providing the best education as possible to the community. After that, everybody else kind of shifts a little bit. You have some people like Maggie who are very worried about social, emotional situations and things of that nature. Got Todd on the socioeconomic front. They're both extremely valid. I don't know where I stack either of those two next. But when I'm looking at trying to meet both of those needs, they're both needs of trying to get kids in the building, knowing that we're up against all these financial constraints to bust them in, to get them in, to get the buildings where they should be for that, PPE, all these other things. I'm also looking at how, and the reason why we went to the phased approach was because we're trying to figure out how to, in a methodical manner, allow people in the buildings without having risk. Or you can't ever not have risk, but to mitigate it as much as possible. So in my mind, I don't know about everybody else, but when I get past 1 and 2, and I'm trying to hit 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I've got a scale in my mind. I'm trying to allow as low-risk things as possible to try to meet getting kids in the building for services, for social and emotional needs, for socioeconomic needs. All of those things I'm trying to meet. And some of those could be met through co-curriculars, through sports and other things. But I've got to look at how much risk versus how much I can allow. And it's not just one school or one class. Everything we do affects the community as a whole. And it's interesting. Numbers change constantly. We're up, we're down. You know, we had this discussion last time about how before we were down and it was 13 cases, and we know that Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays are low. The following Wednesday, we went up by 57 cases. You know what I mean? And then we're at 30 some odd cases, and now this weekend we're back down to 20, now we're up to 31 as far as rising in the state. It goes up and down. What we do know is this. From the moment this started, everything we've believed has constantly changed. It started with, it only affects really old people, nursing homes. Not true. It only affects people with pre-existing conditions that are older. Not true. Well, it affects, older people. If you have some sort of pre-existing condition, we'll back off from that. It doesn't affect young people though, and definitely not kids. Well, middle-aged people it's starting to affect, but you have to have a pre-existing condition. Well, we're doing away with the pre-existing condition thing because we don't know. It's just happening to perfectly healthy people too. But if you're young, you're fine. Well, if you're over 18, you really need to worry about it. But if you're under 18, you're fine. Then as we started opening up camps and we started now opening up schools, it has gone just in the past week from, 10 and over, you really need to look out. But, asymptomatic, not a big deal, nothing really happens. Nope, that seems to be a problem. And within a week, all children now, those cases, have gone up by 90% this week. We're seeing kids in the hospital. We're seeing kids dying in states where they've gone back to school, gone back to co-curriculars, gone back to everything. And then they said, but little kids are fine. And they don't really even spread it that much. Now they're saying, nope, they spread it just as bad, if worse than the flu. So we've changed our mind on all that. Every day it changes and it's completely different and it's not what we thought it was before. Masks. CTC, everybody said, wear anything. Wear anything. Bandana, great. Everybody's out getting those gaiters, great. Now all of a sudden it's, you've got to wear an N95, a surgical mask, or a multi-layer cloth mask. Don't wear a bandana, it does nothing. If you wear a gaiter or a fleece, you might as well not wear anything because it makes the particles smaller and worse and you're actually contributing more to the spread of the virus. So don't touch those at all. And that just happened because as part of the
the information we got for cheerleading, they're talking about gators. They didn't know that. They didn't know that that study was just going to happen and come out and say, no, please don't do that. That's the worst thing you can do. So that changed. You know, and then we have professional sports that are changing. You have schools across the country that were all in and now they're saying they're all out. You have schools just in New Hampshire, they're like, oh, we're all in or we're hybrid. And they're like, nah, we're going to go to a phased in approach. Everything's changing. It's constantly changing. And, you know, even the Pac-12 and the Big Ten today, who have way more money than the NHIAA, way more money than any schools in New Hampshire that are already opted out of fall sports, have said medically, we don't think it's a great idea. And part of that is because the other thing we're seeing that we didn't know of until recently is that you can have symptoms or be asymptomatic even, and then all of a sudden, several weeks or a month or more down the road, you've got, we don't know how long-term it is, cardiovascular issues, cognitive issues. We have people that are perfectly healthy, asymptomatic, now all of a sudden they don't know what day it is. They forget. In the course of a conversation, they think it's Wednesday and it's Tuesday. So again, we don't know. I guess the only thing that we know is that we don't know much, and it changes all the time. And, you know, when I look at what we need to do, again, to provide as much to all of our students as possible, I don't believe I can jump headfirst into what NHIAA calls the highest risk right off the bat, when I'm trying to mitigate as much risk as possible for all of our students as a whole and our community as a whole. And I understand what people are saying about the cases that were occurred or the contact that occurred during the conditioning workouts. I understand that the spread may or may not have, we have no idea. I'll say it right off the bat. We don't know where it happened, how much happened, what's going on, but we do know that 3 weeks in a row we had to shut it down because there's spread inside that pool. And yeah, I believe you that it's not happening at practice, but that's the scary thing is, it's happening. I'm sorry, comment is at the beginning and the end. We don't have back and forth, so I'm very sorry. That's how community spread happens. We can't control what other people do. We can't control what other communities do. We can't control what their kids do. And you don't know what's going on with everybody else's household and other schools and other communities and other families, and we can't control it. So it's not just us, it's everyone.
We're talking about a different subject now, right? This is school. We're talking about school and starting.
No, we're talking about the restarting of co-curriculars, but I'm tying it all together.
I just have one question.
This is not how this board works. I'm very sorry.
I don't understand why the daycares are open. That's all.
I'm very sorry, we do not control daycares. I can't make decisions for daycares. And that's the other thing is, I can only sign off on and approve and sanction and put my name on these things. I can't do it for club sports. I can't do it for daycares. I can't do it for anybody. I can do it on this. And I can be constant in what I'm saying and my beliefs for the reopening of schools plus the reopening of sports. I believe that something has to be slow, has to be methodical, it has to be cautious and follow a plan to make sure that we're doing the best thing for everybody involved. And so I'm going to support the motion that was placed on the table last meeting to approve the superintendent's request that we allow non-contact sports and co-curriculars on a case-by-case basis as approved by the superintendent. Do you have any further comment? Todd?
Thank you. So I agree with much of that, and I think that many probably agree with much of that as well. But I will say that I believe that we should plan on letting the kids play, knowing, with the knowledge that the school district has an ability to call an audible. See what I did there? If needed, as time goes on, if we need to. I think that we need to give the kids the benefit of the doubt, and monitor as we move forward, and that seemed to be part of the recommendation from some of the the residents out there. I agree that I believe that the dynamics are different. I mean, there are some similarities, but the dynamics are different between hundreds of children, students being inside the schools, inside a school, versus outside. I think I also look at the dynamic of we're talking about students choosing to play sports, their parents or caregivers supporting them to play sports, recognizing, and it was mentioned earlier by many, that the connection between mental health and academics and life living skills. Mental health is clearly a foundation to successful academics for everyone. But I think some folks benefit from different types of activities, and sports is certainly one of them. So again, I believe that we should give the kids a chance, knowing that this can be monitored, and I think if we support moving forward with sports, I think that everyone, including the kids, the young adults and parents and coaches, should be aware that, again, things change. We can call that audible, and knowing that we did give it a shot and we did try, we did give you the benefit of the doubt. And I think that's the right way to move forward.
Cody?
I think that was well said, Mr. Todd. I agree with a lot of what Todd said. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said too. I think you've both made some very valid points. For me, the going back to school decision and just every part of this decision has been safety. Student safety is my priority. You know, there are so many different aspects of all of it. You know, there's the socioeconomic piece, there's just the economy, there's family schedules, there's what's just best for kids' mental health. So yeah, safety has been my top priority, and that's why I was definitely not a proponent of sending all the kids back to school day one, you know, like some districts are doing across the state. With that being said, I think this is a different, there are enough differences when you're talking about sports and co-curriculars that I think do make it a lot more manageable. Did I just get way louder?
Not working.
One of my biggest concerns with going back into the building, whether it's hybrid and half the kids in or all the kids in, was just the ability to social distance and enforce all the rules, all these rules of keeping them wearing masks, keeping them apart, not touching each other, not playing normal student, youth, kid games on you know, out at recess. But at that point, again, we're talking about over 1,000 students, and when we're talking about football, you know, we have, or other sports, we have a couple coaches typically on, I don't want to say every team, but I think most teams at least have 2 coaches, whether it's football or something else. So a lot of times you have a higher adult, you know, a good adult ratio that can kind of manage that. You're not talking about, you know, hundreds of kids in a building. You're talking about 20, 15, 40, it sounds like. I didn't even realize the football team was actually that big. Maybe that's both teams. But, so, I mean, I'm in support of letting them play. I think there has been such a big support for it, which honestly has helped sway me or just cement the way that I was feeling. So I thank everybody for coming out and those who emailed and commented, because to me that is really valuable. The other piece of it is, again, like has been mentioned already, is just that unlike school, unlike learning and education, this is a choice. You know, we are making the choice for the whole school when we decide what the learning model is. But to allow fall sports is giving them the choice. You know, it's, to me, it's almost flipped. You know, if we were to go in the building, the kids that are out of the building are the exception to the rule. You know, the kids who want to stay home and be remote. But being out of the building, the kids who want to come together and play some sports, in that case, are the exception to the rule. And that's the choice that they're making. So again, I totally understand there are, Matt, your argument of if I'm putting safety as a priority and I only have a certain tolerance of risk level, you know, it seems counteractive or counterintuitive to that idea to allow something like contact sports. I hear that, but again, for all those other reasons, I still would support it.
Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be honest. I've had a very tough 2 weeks, if not 2 months. But I'm not the only one. All of us, all of you, thank you for your comments tonight, all of your letters, all the teachers, the administration. It has not been an easy summer. And a few things that I'm having a hard time with, and it's the same thing. I agree with what I agree with in parts of what everyone has said so far. Where I can never get past myself is, I keep coming back to this concept of time. It's been 5 months. And there's opinions, there's scientific studies, and let me tell you, I've done a ton of research. There's studies that say, yes, you can play, yes, you can go back to school. There's studies that says, no, you can't play, and you can't go back to school, okay? And it's trying to find a commonality in all that research. And what I kept coming back to is the time. It's been 5 months. And we still have a lot of unknowns based off that. And I'm having a hard time getting myself past the 5 months. I'd like to make a comment, though, about this. I mean, as you heard in the last meeting, I am all about safety. Our two big things is education and safety, okay? And my background, I'm a math person, okay? So yes, we didn't want to put all the kids back in the school, 440 kids in that high school, okay? But some of the commonalities that I've found is time of exposure in closed spaces. And the benefit of our sports, they're outside. But my two concerns with sports that I still can't get by is community travel, okay? And I want you to set your eyes on that blue line, that blue tape that's right there. That's a bus. And how are we going to feel comfortable putting kids on a bus for a bus ride and not feel that there's going to be some exposure potential there? And there may not be, we don't know. But that's a closed space, and that's what I'm having a hard time getting by. Thank you.
Ed?
Thanks for bringing that up. That was one of the things that I was curious to know too. You know, the logistics of getting to different games. That's something that I haven't seen in the recommendations coming out of NHIAA. And then the other thing was what to do with spectators. I mean, it's a game, it's a scrimmage, you know, but if you have people there, it's different. So that's one thing that, you know, I'd like to get answered. I'd like to make a motion to suspend rules to allow for the athletic director to come and answer that if there's...
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
So just to clarify, yeah, what's the plan with travel, and has there been any sort of recommendation on whether or not to allow spectators?
So I contacted First Student. They said we could do it whatever we're comfortable with. We have a policy in this district about not having parents drive to games with their kids, but that would be something that we could suspend. Hopefully, if we, you know, have if every kid goes with their own parent, that's not an issue, and then put as few kids on the bus as we possibly can. Spectators, I mean, from an NHIA standpoint, what I've been talking about with a lot of the other Division III schools, some schools are not going to allow them. And they've been very adamant of saying, okay, well, some districts are, some districts are not. If our district does allow spectators and Farmington doesn't, we can't go watch the game when we go play Farmington. Like, so it's just respecting whatever district decides. So that's something that, as a district, we would have to decide if we would allow spectators or not at the games. You know, the transportation piece, we can get multiple buses. That's that's something that we've always done anyways. You know, like they're saying they have 40 kids in a football team. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to travel with 40 kids to a football game. Same thing with soccer, same thing with volleyball. Like in this time, if the deciding factor is transportation, then we're probably going to take a bare bones group to a varsity football game and then try to play junior varsity, sub-varsity games with another group of kids so they can also get some playing time as well.
So Ed, just the other thing so you know, we had lengthy discussion when we approved the transportation policy. It is extremely specific down to the letter to match our insurance rider for the school district. So that is not something we'd be able to waive at all for insurance reasons.
But we've always let kids drive to and from games with parents. So
Right,
if we had
if
more
that's,
parent- if we
yeah,
had
it's in the
more-
policy, but you can't have other people at any way, sure, if that happens, if anybody finds it, we're in deep trouble.
No, not that, but we're saying like if all these, if we have 30 parents driving to a football game and 20 of them drive their own kids, that's not against our school policy. That's within our right, that's within the school
Right,
policy.
no, I'm saying, that you talked about suspending the policy for other
Oh,
reasons.
yeah, no,
We
I get
can't
you.
do that.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Jerry?
Boy, I'd like to see you go back to playing ball. But I have a big concern. We have control here of our students and our players and what we do here. But if you're going to be doing sports elsewhere, working with other teams, how can we guarantee that they're doing this, have the same controls that we do? That concerns me. As a school board member and the responsibility to the health and well-being of the students in our community, it concerns me that we might go to another community where there's a problem and we won't find out about that until it's too late. I'd love to see kids go back to sports, but I'm not sure I can support that because it concerns me. I've got a daughter who's a senior bioscientist working on a cure, and she's really frightened of this disease, and they're working on it. So I'll just leave it at that, but my concern is not with the students here, it's with the students elsewhere.
Further discussion? John?
So first of all, I just want for everyone who came to provide some opening comments, I want to say thank you. And just know that we all heard you, and I heard you. We're all listening to everything you're saying. This is, as Coach Lambert said, this is a classic dilemma. You have two decisions that are polar opposites. Neither one is all good or all bad. There's risks, there's benefits to either choice. And so, our role is here, we've got to sort through a ton of uncertainty. I mean, that's what most of everybody's saying here is there's a lot we don't know. What I do know is that I'm very clear now on the perspective that all of you have about the benefits of sports, whether that's volleyball, football, doesn't matter, cheerleading. I appreciate everyone being clear because there's no ambiguity there about what the downsides from a personal standpoint are to not having sports and the benefits of having them. So there's no ambiguity there. I read through all of the practice plans, and the other thing that I'm very firm in my belief on is that every team and every sport will follow the guidelines, and that those guidelines are at least, if not exceeding, what the NHIA guidelines. That was very clear because I've looked into that and researched it. Like Steve, I've spent too many hours on this and some sleepless nights. This uncertainty remains. So one thing I want to address, though, is there are a lot of comments tonight were around, let me make the choice for me. Let me make my choice. And I totally appreciate that. But folks, it's a disease. It's an epidemic. It's a virus. It wants another host. It gets to you, it gets to another kid, it gets to a teacher, it gets to a secretary. That's what it does, and it's not going to relent. It doesn't care what sport you play. It doesn't care how much we love our game or how much we care about our neighbors. It's going to find another host if we give it an opening. That's why New Hampshire's doing well. That's why our numbers are so low, because we're not giving the virus an option to propagate. You look at everywhere else in the country where they've opened schools, they've opened camps, they've experimented. Well, we're going to try it. Let's just try it because we don't know. Guess what? 5 million infections. You've got enough dead people just since, March, to fill up 2 entire stadiums. Dead people. So that's the concern here, is that we don't know. So, I feel very confident that we could practice, we could be safe, that people are going to follow the guidelines. There's a certain level of interaction, though, that concerns me like it does Steve. And maybe I've got a little different perspective on it, which is, the bottom line is about social distancing. And we talk about 6 feet away, and let's wear a mask, let's not have any physical contact, we're not gonna shake hands. And other things affect the transmittability, right? So it's respiration. 12 liters per minute is your normal respirating rate. If you're working out, I'm playing volleyball, I'm sucking wind, I'm right across from another person, I could be breathing out 100 liters of air per minute. No scientific study that I've seen is going to tell me, well, what does that mean? Is that 10 times as much viral load that's going to get to somebody else? So does that mean now a 10-minute contact of 6 feet, now if I'm 6 feet away from that person on the other side of the volleyball net, now do I have 1 minute of breathing heavy face-to-face with that person without a mask on before one of us is at risk of getting the virus? And now take another sport where maybe you're on a soccer field. You're breathing heavy. You're running down the field next to each other. Now it's not 6 feet. It's 1/5 of that. So now you're talking about, now it's 1 minute. Now it's down to 20 seconds of contact. I don't know. I'm making up numbers, right? Fact is, I don't know. I don't know what the increased level of risk is when you're talking about increased respiration and decreased distance in those kind of scenarios. How much of that is offset by the fact that you're outside? I don't know. The question is, are we willing to take that risk? Because as much as I desperately, desperately want there to be sports this year, these are the things that we have to weigh. And again, it's not about an individual decision. We're making these decisions for the whole community. Because I tell you what, if there is a game or a practice environment where one person comes in and there's 3 or 4 other infections, what we've seen is, in this country, a handful of infections turns into 5 million pretty darn quick. So these are a lot of unknowns. We've got to weigh the pros and cons of both sides. So I want you all to know, who came here to speak tonight, regardless of whether we phase things in, call an audible if we need to. I kind of like that idea. Allow practices to move forward, or go with the superintendent's recommendation that we did hear you, we do hear you, we feel for you, whatever the decision is, it's not going to be the same season no matter what. And for that, I feel horrible for all of you athletes. I just, I don't know how this is going to go down, but I did want to just, again, thank everybody for coming and speaking out, because that's critical.
I'm just going to go around. Maggie, you all set?
Oh, no, yeah, I can go.
Go ahead.
First thing on my mind too, I've never heard from so many students and families, and passionately and well-spoken. I really respect that, I really respect everyone coming out and speaking for this, and my tie-in with all of this for everyone. And I'm I don't know football, exactly. I'll just say that. I don't know football, but I have 3 boys, and the tie-in with your families and people that you care about, and coaches and your peers, you guys are the word of being, their mental health, their well-being, physical mental, this really ties in with me, because I think that what's happening is this passion to be well, this passion to kind of like live with some positivity. And it's been a long 5 months. I mean, it's been a long 5 months of not being able to do that, not being able to connect, and social connection is kind of what makes us human and what makes us, get through a lot of stuff. So with that, and with, having that trusted adult, having that coach, and having people behind you, I mean, I'm in this that, these kids have been together all summer, playing together. I support the families and the kids, and you should be able to play something with these safety guidelines in place. Because I trust that you will. It may be the safest football practice ever, because you're into this. Because what I know about Somersworth, our football community is a family and tight, and you grow up through this. And beyond just that sport, every co-curricular, every extracurricular, the arts, music, anything that can be done, I support wholeheartedly in some form, in a safe form. And you won't be able to do practices until the end of September, over a month from now, almost a month and a couple weeks. So, looking at where we stand in New Hampshire, locally, make the right choices, make safe choices in your entire life, going forward. I mean, this may be a springboard for that. Playing these is a part of your identity, and Somersworth has supported that for so long. The identity of playing, being a hilltopper and being a part of this. If we can do this together, united with these families that are supporting you all the way, I'm going to have to support that as well.
Bob?
Just a couple of comments and a clarification on my recommendation. First, I just want to, I agree with John that, thank you very much for all of the students who took the opportunity to appropriately email your board members, email me, come and speak in front of a group. That's a very difficult thing to do, so I applaud you for doing that. Since March 1st of this past year, I haven't had the opportunity of having an easy decision to date. Every single decision has been difficult. I didn't like it at all when our seniors couldn't do a gathering at the end of the year, or that prom couldn't happen, or the baseball season in the beginning. I don't like the fact that kindergartners, for their first experience at school, aren't going to be able to see their teacher the first day. I don't like that we can't have transitions to middle school and high school, freshman year and sixth grade. I think all of those things are awful. I agree with everybody that spoke tonight that socialization, teamwork, athletics, band, chorus, activities, clubs, all of those are important. So is riding a bus to school with your friends, seeing them in math class, and being able to socialize all day long. I struggled over this recommendation, like many of my other recommendations, and I thought about it a lot. And I can't come to any other recommendation when I can't safely get kids on a bus or bring them into a classroom or have other activities. I can't make any other recommendation than the one I made. And just for clarification, it's to allow low-risk, non-contact sports and extracurricular activities on a case-by-case basis as approved by the superintendent. That allows me the flexibility to try to get off as many activities as we possibly can. And I know that's not what you're looking for. I understand that. But please understand that this is not a football decision for me. This is an overall decision. I've got, 40 people, 30 people in this room tonight. We've got in the neighborhood of 1,500 to 1,800 people in our schools. So that's what's guiding my recommendation. Thank you.
Tom.
People who work together will win, whether it be against complex football defense or the problems of modern society. Guys, I'm going to speak to you as a coach. I've never, and I've coached all of you pretty much. I've never, ever, ever in my life said, I've said it all the time, I will never put you in harm's way. Just like Steve up here, just like other people up here, this isn't an easy decision. This is something that I've been sitting back for the past couple of weeks going, this is not easy. Not just because of football, not because of the way it is, just because of society that we're living in right now. It's not easy. I don't take it lightly. And I'm looking at you guys because you know what? I was in the same position that you were when I was in high school. We had situations come up. We had people that wanted to get rid of the sports. We fought. We were passionate. We did everything we could. The outskirts of that was, obviously, we still played football. We still got things done. But I don't think people understand, and none of you here have seen it yet. We had a death in our school. Now, let me just tell you something. When you're driving up the road here, and you go past the airport, and you get to the top of the hill, I want you to look down that hill into Rochester, because that is burned in my head because we were coming back, and all I saw was lights. That's it. Going back to this funeral hall, going back to the place to bury this person. We haven't been there yet. I don't want you there. I'm still young. I'm 45 years old, and guess what? That still stays in my head every day. Yes, it's passion. Yes, it's love. I get it. I love all the passion you guys have, and I get it. And this is right here. This is not fair. You guys got right to the top of the line, and then it just gets blown away. It's not fair. But I'll tell you something. I struggled just like Steve up here, just like everybody. This is not the easiest decision in the world, and I don't want to be in this decision. I could play a game, just say no, I'll abstain from it. I could do that, but that wouldn't honor you guys. And I try to honor as much as I can. And I care about the coaches. I care about Steve. I care about you guys more than you can believe. And I want to see the season go just like anybody else. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't. Colleges are backing out. Everybody's backing out. Yes, no, maybe so, who knows? It's up in the air. Nobody knows. Because nobody wants to make that decision. And I get that. But I sit here in front of all these people, and I respect every person up here because I've worked with them in committees and I've talked with them in committees. And there's not a thing in my life that I would say, hey, you know what? This needs to go. This needs to go. But at the end of the day, I can't afford to see one of you pass. I can't. I can't do it. I can't live it. Now, if I have to be the person up here to say, you know what? So be it. I'll vote no. But I'm going to tell you straight. I don't want to see it happen. And I get the parents. I understand you guys. Trust me. You guys know me. I've coached with you. I've been on the sidelines with you. But as irresponsible as it can be, if I was to put a kid in the game and he gets a concussion and I pull him out, that's being responsible. Knowing that you could get hurt, that's not being responsible. And let's face it, you got linemen right there in the front lines. You guys know who you are. Nobody talks about linemen because linemen are always hitting each other, right? I get it. I understand it. And I respect every one of you, and I love every one of you. But I'm going to make the right decision here, and I'm going to make a decision. And I'm going to honor you in that way. And if you don't like me for that, I understand. Trust me, I have not slept, and I sleep like a baby. And I'll tell you right now, it is killing me. It is killing my work because I can't sleep. I can't think. All I'm thinking about is, how do you make this decision right? Can't. No matter what happens. Right or wrong. Come on.
Okay, so I'm going to go after this again in a second. So 8.1, personnel nomination.
I have one nomination for hire tonight, Patricia Salzano. Nominate her for art teacher at Somersworth Middle School. We're very fortunate to have her aboard. Very experienced teacher and would be a nice addition to our staff.
Do we have a motion to approve the nomination?
Motion to approve the personnel nomination?
Second?
Motion and seconded. Can we have a roll call, please?
Matt Hanlon.
Yes.
Steve Potter.
Yes.
Tom McCallion.
Yes.
Jerry Cannon.
Yes.
Cody Donahue.
Yes.
Ed Lavasser.
Yes.
Maggie Larson. Yes. John O'Brien.
Yes.
Todd Marsh.
Yes.
Do we still have an 8.2 or is that done?
That one's done.
That's done.
8.2 is done.
8.2 we did earlier, non-public. So we're on to 8.3. So we're looking for a motion on co-curricular athletics decision.
Sorry, Chair. Can I just have a clarification of what that is, just for public record, what, for contact sports, what is kind of on the docket?
We're
like-
looking for a motion. What we tabled for discussion was the motion that, yeah,
Yeah, just for.
that the
for
superintendent had brought
clarification.
forward.
My recommendation is to allow low-risk, non-contact sports and extracurricular activities on a case-by-case basis as approved by the superintendent.
So moved.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motioned and seconded. We already had a healthy discussion. Do we have any further discussion? Todd?
Yep. So I would urge those who are, I think, as everyone indicated, difficult decision. But just be mindful that I think if we vote to let the kids play, we can, as was indicated earlier, call that audible as we move forward. So I think there are options moving forward. Thank you.
Steve?
Are we allowed to make amendment to the motion?
You can ask to make a friendly amendment to
You can?
Board Member McCallion.
Yeah.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
am I allowed to make
Yeah.
an amendment to the,
You can ask him if he can make an amendment. Go ahead.
he asked me to make an amendment?
No, you can ask him.
That's what I'm
Since he
doing.
made the
Yeah.
Can I make an amendment?
Yeah.
The amendment I'd like to say is, dates back to the way we made our school decision, which is the phased approach. I'd like to make an amendment that we allow the superintendent, because the NHIA has basically indicated which is low, moderate, and high risk, and try to find a way to put those in our phases, phase 2, 3, or 4. I know that does not help the decision. I'll be honest, my decision is a no if this amendment does not go through. I look at the amendment, and the way I look at it, I talked to a few people, and I've heard a common theme, that instead of saying yes and calling an audible, I feel safer saying no, let time go by, and then call the audible to see if we can move the sports within our phases. I know that's not a good answer, but that's just a thought.
So your amendment is to add a phased approach
Based
to
on the
the super.
NHIA
Okay,
indicators of what they consider low, moderate, and high.
so how would you, I guess we need a little further information on that. How would you suggest that we tie those?
Low would be phase 2, moderate would be phase 3, high would be phase 4, with the audible to move the sports backwards in early phases if we determine at a later date that the transmission rates are still at an acceptable rate, not in our community, not in our surrounding community, not just in our state, but overall in the New England area. That's my thought.
Bob?
I just have a concern that kind of muddies the waters a little bit. As a board, you always have the opportunity to, and I'm not predicting, if this were to pass as it was stated, and at any point down the road, the board decided to move in a different direction, all that would take would be a discussion at the board level, a motion at the board level, and then a different direction if it passes could happen, which kind of accomplishes the same thing that you're talking about. It concerns me to put in, we're definitely doing this in phase 3 and definitely in phase 4, because depending on what happens, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball on how this pandemic is going to play out, so you always have that flexibility as a board to change after discussion anyway.
Okay, so there was a friendly amendment made. You can either accept it or you can withdraw it.
I'll accept it.
You'll accept it. So your amendment now introduces the phased
I will
approach
accept it.
as attached, as suggested by Board Member Potter, meaning that the current motion is to approve the, read it again and add in that phased approach.
I'll do the best I can. So with the amendment, the motion would be to allow low-risk sports and extracurricular activities in Phase 2, moderate-risk sports and activities in Phase 3, and high-risk in Phase 4 of our plan. Is that correct, Steve?
And adding in what you had said and what Todd had said, that as we meet every 2 weeks on our school phases, we can discuss if we think, and call that audible, if we want to be able to move sports backwards. For example, high back to Phase 3, moderate starting immediately, depending on how well we're doing in Phase 2. There's one thing that I didn't bring up. I can't have a discussion, can I?
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Is safety protocols. How well we're doing our safety protocols and how fast. The most important thing to me is getting kids back in school. And if Phase 3 is 50-50, if we're successful in getting to Phase 3, and we don't know, there's uncertainty there. We don't know, okay? But if we're able to get to Phase 3, I can't see why we can't have a discussion about sports at that time also, about letting them play.
I think the way that it's amended, it's going to be tied to it regardless. So we will have to have that discussion as part of the phase movement.
Correct.
The way that it's written.
Yes.
So what you're saying is true. Every time we go to move to a phase and we're reevaluating what that phase is and how it consists and how we're going to work within it, we would have to tie this conversation to that phase.
They've worked this hard.
And it may change.
And I don't know if this is against rules. Can I suspend rules and ask the AD a question?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Two questions. First question is, you said that open tournaments in New Hampshire, which I had read that, but I had not read they made the decision with football. Did they make that decision?
They did, they just they don't know what it's gonna look like yet. Like I said, the NHIA has been very flexible with saying that we can schedule as few games as we want to, and then allowing everybody to play in a tournament at the end of the season. NHIA is still meeting like weekly on kind of trying to wrap up policies because this is happening so fast and it's getting kind of close to the end of the year. The one thing I want to say about this proposal is if we're going to phase in games, I have to have those games scheduled like now.
That was my second question.
Yeah, okay.
Is there been discussion amongst athletic directors that there could be a potential for games to be scheduled now, because I understand that fact, but a high probability that they could be canceled down the line?
Absolutely, and everything, like, I think I said it in my opening statement, like, what we've been talking about as ADs is scheduling few local games to see how they go, not even worrying about, a lot of the divisions are gone, like, no one's really playing like a Division I schedule, a Division II schedule, a Division III schedule. You're basically playing who you can in your area, so we're probably not gonna go beat up on Exeter in football because they're kind of close. We're probably gonna play Farmington and Epping, because it's a local team, we don't have to spend hours on the bus. But this whole time, the whole flexibility with the schedule has been designed so if a team does have to shut down for a week or two, then they can, and then play a game in a couple of weeks, after that. Football season doesn't end until the middle of November. So that's, even if we started in October, you're still looking at, we could potentially play one game, we could potentially play 5 games. It's really whatever we feel comfortable playing, and then we kind of assess as we go. But I don't think we'll be able to add games like in October. Like, it's not like if we all of a sudden go, hey, we're going to be in phase 4 next week, so you can start playing some football games. I can't just call up a school. They're already going to have the games scheduled and the officials, and like, it's not an easy process like that. It's going to have to be scheduled. It's easy to schedule and then cancel if we have to.
But you may have also games where they didn't play here, so they bumped down. You'll have probably flexibility anyways.
Absolutely.
Based on who shuts down, who doesn't. So there may be some I know you're looking down, you don't have that crystal ball, I get that, but there may be those possibilities where it'll retract. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, just real quick, the other issue that I have with this is Not just the fact that it may be unfair to schedule games and then not have them to other teams. But what are you doing? If we're not doing full contact sports, we're in phase 2, which is low level non-contact. How are you sanctioning practices?
It would stay at 3 months. As this, I would be okay with the protocols that are in place for the practice schedule there were, with probably some additional mitigating factors that we'd have to talk to the AD about, but keep it basically non-contact, drill-based.
Right, so you're talking about changing all of those practice guidelines that were sent to us,
Possible.
including, well, the spirit would have to change because the Gators don't match what we're going to have as a policy via the MOU with the unions, and via, what we're looking at. So some of that's going to have to change regardless. So there's a lot of changes in there.
That's changes to what, though? What side?
To the practice guidelines.
Correct, exactly. I heard a lot of comments earlier that basically stated that they would try to do what was physically possible to at least have some type of a season. This amendment does not guarantee a games. It does not. Because we may not get to phase 4, which is considered by the NHIA, football as a high risk. That would be phase 4 in this amendment. All I'm saying is it allows us to at least have an opportunity to potentially get there. And going back to what Board Member McCallion said, and what I said earlier, is the fact that we live in a community, not an easy decision. There's no right decision on each side. There's circumstances on each side. But I look at this as a way of trying to find some common ground in a very difficult decision. And that's all I'm trying to do.
So just real quick, within this motion, Bob, how would you suggest, do we need to put anything in there for the review of practices? I mean, because I want to, granted, we're in phase 2, which is tied to phase 1, which means nothing's going on. But I want to make sure that.
Well, that's the kind of gray area that I'm thinking about. I'm trying to, in my head, decipher how I would manage that. And I think that, and again, I've been thinking about this for about 2.5 minutes now, so bear with me. I think I'm looking at it, if I'm understanding the motion, that any activities would be similar to the training sessions that they're already doing. Because that would be phase 2. And if we were to move into phase 3, then it would be, in my mind, modified practices, perhaps no contact, some sharing of equipment at phase 3, and then phase 4 obviously is just following the NHIA guidelines.
Would it be simpler to change the original motion to an amendment that states something similar to the original motion plus we will review the introduction to other risk levels as we move through the phases of remote learning? That way we don't get tied to any of this other stuff. That means we look at it, when we go from 2 to 3, we'll look at this again.
Even if we can't get from 2 to 3, I still want to talk about it.
I mean, we can bring it up at any time. You can make a motion at any time.
Because that's the same thing we do with the school, is that we're not just going to talk about when we get to 3, we're going to talk about how we're doing in 2.
Right, at any time, you could make a motion.
Okay.
I'm just trying to eliminate all the other wordiness.
Thanks. Just a suggestion to kind of clarify this further. I'd like to make a motion to accept the NHIAA guidance. That
We've
would
already
be-
got a motion going.
Right, okay.
The motion needs to fail
The motion.
before we can.
Well, my
before you move
suggestion
forward.
would be to clarify the motion as to suggest, I'm not making a motion, but my suggestion is to clarify the motion to follow the NHIAA guidance in conjunction with our local 2-week assessment for our district.
So what that would mean is if you want to accept her friendly amendment instead of Steve's, we would be all in right now. Tom, are you going to accept Maggie's friendly amendment?
Isn't that the same as yours?
That means you're all in with NHI. That means you're in phase 3 full contact sports right now.
No.
That's, if you're going with NHIA guidelines, that's what that is.
The first day of practice would be the 8th of September, and for football and spirit would be September 25th for the
Games
first
on the
date.
25th.
September 25th?
Right, but if we tie things to NHIA guidelines, that means that that's what we're following right now.
I think we're confusing each other.
Yeah.
If I could go back to the original recommendation. If the original recommendation were to fail, then we're at the NHIAA guidelines of how to do all of our athletics immediately. That's where we're at if it fails. If the original recommendation passes, at that particular time, the board is still going to be reassessing and meeting every 2 weeks on the reentry plan into schools. They could reassess this as well. But what that means is if this fails, I mean, if it passes, it's just that any activities would either be non-contact or low risk. So what that would mean to football, soccer, and volleyball would be basically training activities until a point in time that the board decided to discuss it and change it. The only thing that would have to be like really look forward and planned for in that scenario would be to allow your athletic director to schedule a couple of games in October in a just-in-case mode. But it wouldn't stop the board at any point in time of reassessing.
Todd?
So, Steve, I like your innovative approach. I like the fact that you're trying to be that, from my perspective, trying to be that bridge of finding a common ground. I, in the past, have often found myself there. I think my concern is that based on and they're just my perspective, it's my perspective, my observation of just board discussions. I'm not confident that we're going to be at a phase 4 anytime soon. So I'm not confident that with that amendment, or even without the amendment really, that with the amendment or the motion that, there will be play. So I'll vote no, because I want to give the kids a chance to play, knowing the audible. The last time I'll say it tonight. But again, we can reassess. We can reassess every week, but I think we'd be reassessing forward. We're giving that opportunity, we're giving that chance, knowing we can pull it back. And at least I'll know that I did have that conversation, even if I'm the one making the motion to pull it back, if we need to. But I just don't see us going to phase 4 anytime soon. But I do appreciate that.
Steve?
There lies the crux of the concern. If we don't feel like we're going to get to phase 3 or phase 4, And I go back to my original discussion, how do we even feel safe allowing sports? If we don't have the faith that we can try to work towards that, how do we feel comfortable to make a decision to allow sports? And I'm a numbers person, okay? 440 kids in the high school, 40 kids, it's still 10% in that particular sport, okay? It's not a low number. I have a hard time saying yes to sports now and then calling an audible to shut it down. Whereas I'd rather say it's a phased-in approach and call an audible to move it around. And I know it's sticky, but it provides hope. And I'm not necessarily sold on it, but I'll be honest. And we got kind of sticky here with a lot of talking with the amendment. And I'll say it again, if this amendment won't pass, then I will withdraw the amendment and I will vote no.
Any further comment, questions? Anybody? Clarification? Okay, so the current amendment is to move forward with the phased-in approach. It's completely different now. A phased-in approach of sports with the NHIAA current listing, not if they change it, the current listing of low, medium, and high risk tied to phases 2, 3, and 4 accordingly. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Motioned and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, the understanding is everybody understands that, where we are right now then,
So
okay?
just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, a yes vote
Is to
means-
approve it,
is to approve the phased approach.
correct,
A no vote is for no sports.
correct.
Okay, just want to clarify, thank you.
Yes is to approve the phased tie-in as you have proposed. No is back to the drawing board.
Excuse me, are we voting on approving the amendment or the original?
You know what, let's make this easy. Can you just withdraw, make a brand new, and Steve make a brand new amendment, a brand new motion? Tom, can you just withdraw your,
It's so hard hearing him over there.
can you please withdraw your motion, and have Steve make a new one? This will just be cleaner.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. Do you want to make a new amendment? That way it's nice and clean for everybody.
I make a motion,
Sorry.
yep, make a motion to allow Somersworth sports, high school sports, to follow the NHIA low, moderate, and risk designations, to follow our phased-in approach, beginning with low in phase 2, moderate in phase 3, high in phase 4,
As currently set by HIA.
as currently set by NHIA.
Bob?
Could you add to your motion to also allow the superintendent to add extracurricular activities and sports on a case-by-case basis? Because we have some extracurriculars that don't fit that.
Happily added.
Okay. So the new motion is, so everybody's clear, a phased-in approach to Somersworth sports that matches the current NHIAA levels of risk, low, medium, and high, tied to phased-in approaches 2, 3, and 4 accordingly, with the superintendent having the availability to approve other co-curricular or extracurricular activities on a case-by-case basis. Does that work?
Yep.
I second that motion.
Motioned and seconded. Do we have any further discussion?
Just for clarification,
Yep.
and a vote no is moving forward with sports Correct.
Well, if we
If
vote
we
no,
vote
we'd
no,
be
it's
looking
under
for
no for
another
school.
motion. This one would die,
Right.
and we would look for another motion.
Right, a no vote is just that this motion fails.
That's right.
Any further questions? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Matt Hanlon,
Yes.
Steve Potter,
Yes.
Tom McCallion,
Yes.
Jerry Cannon,
Yes.
Cody Donahue,
No.
Ed Lavasser,
No.
Maggie Larson.
I'm trying to think this through for one second, hold on a second. It's hard with the phases, just to know what I'm voting on really quick. The phases will be in conjunction with our district phases or the NHIAA phases?
They are tied together. NHIAA
Our
low is tied to
district
our phase 2. Mid-level is tied to our
Mid to
phase
low
3.
risk, okay.
High risk is tied to our phase 4.
Okay, so high risk phase 4, they would be allowed to play in phase 4, okay. No.
John O'Brien,
Yes.
Todd Marsh.
No.
I wasn't counting, sorry, what was that? Was that 5 to 4?
5 to 4, yes.
In the positive?
Yep, 5 to
Motion
4,
carries.
yes.
Okay. Next up, future meeting dates and suggested agenda items. August 20th, we have an Educational Programs and Community Outreach Committee meeting. The 25th is a Building and Grounds. 25th is also a school board meeting. And then September 8th, we have a policy meeting and a school board meeting. Closing comments by visitors.
I wish we had heard the arguments against it before.
Can I just get a name, please?
Tina Marshall, before we had, because I appreciate, I mean, this has got to be hard for you, and I really appreciate that we have members of our community that care. I guess I'm confused because we're in remote learning. These kids are going to play football whether we tell them they can or not. And I'd rather have them do it safely. There's no stopping them. They're 17, 18, 16. They're going to play. But again, without pads, they're going to play. If we're in remote learning and you're worried about other students, the communities around us have very low cases. Why don't we come up with a plan of testing? Like, we could test them before. They can do remote learning. They don't go back into the school to spread it to the, in case they get, I don't understand why we're just giving up. Why we're giving up so easily. I know that we can fight. This is important. I know it's important to get kids back in school, but this is a separate issue. There's remote learning. Kids, they're not going to be in a classroom. They're not going to be in the building. They're going to play football, and they're going to play football whether we prove them to do it or not. They may not play against other teams, other communities, who knows? They might challenge other football teams to do it. So we got to come up with a better solution, and I know we can.
Jesse Demers, 12th 3rd Street, Somersworth. I'm a little disturbed by what I just witnessed the first time I've been to a school board meeting. So you guys came here, I was under the impression you guys were gonna make a decision tonight about what to do going forward, and I get that it's a tough call. But you just made an amendment to the process here that basically told all these guys they're not playing this year. Because as Todd Marsh said, we're not gonna get to phase 4 within the time span that football allows. Like, that's not gonna happen. So your premise right there was you either accept this where you're not gonna have a season because we're not gonna get to stage 4, or I'm gonna vote no and you're not gonna have a season that way. And you say you're a numbers guy, but we live in a state who has 300 cases right now? Is that what it was? In the state, statewide, 1.2 million people, 1.3 million. Okay, so those numbers, that we are, as she said, we're the goal for the rest of the country in this state. So I just want to make sure we're all aware of what just happened right here.
Tatum Evans. So first I want to say, I do appreciate everything that all of you are doing, but boys, what you're witnessing right now is why it's so important to pay attention to who you vote for. The power that is sitting before you, you're learning something that I didn't know at your age. It matters who is making decisions for you, even if it's for the best. But also, all I hear is liability. That's all I'm hearing is the liability of the school and not willing to take risks. I don't feel that it's for the boys that some love. I feel that it's for the bottom line of the school and insurance and the liability behind it. We have all been sitting in this room for as long as a football game, right? This is what, a quarter of the size of a football field? With masks on. I know that, you know, we're not exactly 6 feet. I'd have to get a ruler or a measuring tape. But the risks, we've all taken a risk being here tonight. If we really want to talk about risk. So, boys, everybody, I've learned so much through all of this about politics, about people's opinions, and when we talk about numbers, and it depends what channel you watch, it depends who you listen to. I've had people in my chair who all feel differently, no matter what their education level, whether they're in research or they're not, and I'm blown away at what I witnessed, but we've all learned, and I will be definitely paying far more attention to who I vote for. Thank you.
Ethan Marshall. Coach, you told us that you would never put us in harm's way, correct? We choose to play this sport. It's our decision to play whether or not. So whether or not you vote yes or no, it's our decision. It's not on you. Nothing that will happen to us is on you. It will never be on you because we make the choice personally. And I'll tell you right now, if we don't have it, you're putting me in harm's way. You're putting me in harm's way. All of us. I'm gonna be in a state of depression for so long if we don't have the sport. Please think about it. Please. Thank you.
One thing I think you guys really don't understand is that, like, I know he will crawl off the field, he will, and I know what Gibby's been through on that field. And there's been practices where I just wanted to quit. My dad, my first football practice, I said I wanted to quit. He said, no, stick it out for 2 more weeks. And now you guys are just asking us to basically quit. Like, there's no option to crawl off that field. There's no option to feel better after a practice, after just expending yourself and finally having it to be over. Like, there's no option about that anymore. And I can't give that up. He can't give that up. We can't. And thank you.
Julie Turgeon, I live on Main Street here in Somersworth. I have a question that I'd like to ask the athletic director. Is this the right forum to do so? I need clarity on the 3 phases of the sport. So in phase moderate.
This is closing comments. If you could do that on a side, that would be great, because this is not a
Okay.
the meeting.
I'm just
part
not
is
sure these boys know what those are and what that means for their other sports that they play.
I'm sure he would be more than happy
Okay.
to pull them
All right.
aside and clarify any questions that are had.
All right, Steve, I'll take you up on that. Thank you.
I just want to say, my name is Carrie Clark. Thank you for this opportunity to come before the board tonight, and thank you for these boys. I am super proud of all of you. Holy smokes. You guys stood up and voiced your opinions, shared your hearts. I'm so incredibly proud of them. And I know this is not a hard and easy decision for you all. I know it's hard. But what are these boys going to do? Like, seriously, they're going to go to their friend's house. They're going to go to their girlfriend's house. They're going to go to the football field, whatever. They're in each other's houses all the time, right? So sports, this sports particular, what I'm passionate about and my son's passionate about, It's giving them structure. It gives them a safe place to be in where they can be, you know, I lost my train of thought, but where they can be, you know, sure that they're not spreading, where we have protocols in place where they're not spreading, and we know where they are. I know where my son is, like most of the time during football. I know where he is. I know where he's spending time. I know what he's doing. I know the kids he's hanging out with. And we are not going to be able to say that. And we're not giving them zero help. We're giving them zero hope. They need hope. Something. Even if they come out of here and go, okay, you know what? We have a season, but we may cancel all the practice. Okay. Or all the games. Okay. It's still hope. It's hope. Right? We need to give these kids something. Because these last 5 months have been horrible. Right? We all know that. But we have to give hope. That's it. That's all. But I'm proud of the board.
Trevor Lambert again, 208 West High Street. I will just again echo what some of the folks have said already, that I fully appreciate the weight of this decision on every single one of you. I know it wasn't easy. Absolutely fully appreciate it. I appreciate the time you put into looking into it. I appreciate you listening to these boys. I wish the decision was different, but I would also like to make this, on public record, is that I am committed to finding a way for them to do something. So please, Dr. Godomsky, let me work with you. Let me work with the school board. Let's find something, because I don't want to turn my back on these boys. They deserve the best experience possible in whatever it might be. So if we can kind of commit to work through something, to find the right way to do something other than just stand on a line on the football field and run to the sideline, because that's kind of what they've been at. I'd appreciate that. I'd appreciate that opportunity to work with all of you, to work with you, sir, work with the athletic director and the administration. So please call on me at any time. I'll work through those things because I am absolutely committed to giving them something, because they deserve it. So thank you.
Any further comment? Okay, closing comment by board members. Jerry?
This whole COVID crisis has really stretched all of us. I attend meetings from, even this afternoon, I had a meeting with the Health and Human Services Committee that I sit on in Concord. It was via Zoom. We could meet together to run the business of this state because of this crisis. And it hurts me to not be able to say, yeah, go out and play football. But I've had kids. I've got kids, I've got two, and I got a grandson that I can't hug because my daughter, who's a senior bioscientist, needs to keep her job. She needs to stay healthy, so I can't connect with my own family. I appreciate that kids need sports. They need exercise. They need camaraderie. And I wish we didn't have this crisis, that we could walk away from it. And it's a really tough decision here to work to try and find some common ground to help you guys out. And I think we're working hard. We work hard every week on policies and everything else that we do to benefit the school and to benefit our community. It's not politics. It's right here. I don't want to see any of you come down with COVID or any of your family to come down. I have a friend who lost their 37-year-old daughter to COVID. And she thought she was safe. So I found this meeting to be actually a really good dialogue between us to try and come up with a way to help. We're doing the best we can. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you again to everybody for coming out. Thank you, boys, for being involved in this process. I hope you, like Ms. Evans said, did learn something, and that you find some way to be kind of engaged in other areas of politics or just what's going on in the community like this, you know, I know you guys are passionate about a lot of things that go on in our community, not just sports. So I encourage you to do that. And yeah, if you are going to be 18 this fall, definitely vote. I mean, there's no city election, but there's a state and federal election, so.
Thank you. Or 18, like you can even run for school board. Right, talk 18, right? That's your minimum age and vote and be enlisted. Thanks to everyone that spoke out. It's almost 9 o'clock. I mean, I just would like to the community, lean on each other, make something work. You know, you guys got to have each other. I believe in this community to pull together through really hard times. This is really hard, but we're stronger together to get through something. And families, be engaged, be an active participant, work together, you know, just, you know, if you need help, reach out. And, you know, just kind of, that I really implore for everyone to do that. And I'll see you at the Pines.
Just briefly, again, thank you all for coming and for sharing your perspectives on this. I hope for the boys who came here tonight to speak, you know, that this was an educational experience. I know this isn't what you wanted. I know this is got to be a heartbreaking, tough thing, knowing that if we don't get to phase 4, there's no games. It's the reality, right? But after that, if you can let sink in what you did here tonight, it moved the needle. It made a difference in my thinking. I was torn from the day one. I haven't been sleeping. I've been torn. You know, other folks on the board can, you know, probably going through the same thing. This was not easy. This was not something that any of us took lightly tonight or even leading up to this. But think about the fact that, you know, 1,000 posts on social media and 1,000 likes on some, you know, Instagram meme has zero impact on some of these kind of decisions, but showing up and being a part of the community and a part of democracy and a part of how we work, that matters everything. So keep showing up. Keep showing up. Thank you. Todd?
Thank you. I want to echo that. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. I recognize that, and certainly including the students, I recognize that sports and other forms of extracurricular activities give you life skills, teach life lessons, just like tonight did. And I think a life lesson, you know, that I take away at some meetings is that it doesn't always go our way. And that's a life lesson. However, I do appreciate the approach of Coach Lambert that, you know, let's try to continue to work. Let's try to continue to work on something. I also want to acknowledge that, you know, many of the school board members here tonight are very and have been very involved in sports, specifically football, and I have no doubt in my mind that this decision was not easy for them tonight. You know, I was the backup safety in middle school, and that's pretty much where it ended. But for those who were really heavily involved, when they say that they've been having some sleeping difficulties, I believe them. And so, you know, we move forward, and let's continue to work on something. And again, I appreciate everyone coming out tonight.
I just want to echo the thanks for everyone that came out. It's difficult to get in front of a microphone, let alone one that's televised. I hope that we will see you again. Stay engaged in this process. We're going to continue to work at this, continue to make sure that that we get back to how things used to be. And I hate to say it like that, but get back to education as normal, get back to co-curricular as normal. That's my ultimate goal in this, is to work to get to that phase. Maybe one day we'll see some of you out here on this board. That that's always an option. I just wanted to address one of the comments regarding devices. We have recently made a pretty significant purchase, I think to the tune of $200,000 for technology devices that'll be distributed throughout the district and given where needed. You know, this process has been long. I hope that everyone here realizes that we've all taken the time to really think this through. We don't want to rush this decision, but we will continue to work at this, and I just want to leave it at that. Thanks.
Steve?
Thank you. Just two things. I want to echo, it's not easy getting up and speaking, so thank you guys. It was awesome. Coach Lambert, thank you for your final comments. I would echo trying to continue to work to find ways to keep the community active and would ask any other coach to actually reach out and see if we can find ways to keep the community active. I wanted to quickly end on something that we talked about at the last meeting and would ask that the legislative committee, when they start to reconvene, start to have discussions with our state, local policymakers when it comes to helping our communities in the child care and job issue that is prevalent with this. We need to start there and have them come down and help us with this issue that we're upon us. Thank you.
I'm going to echo, thanks again, guys, for coming in. And I'm going to say that, you know, this is bigger than you think because there's a lot of things going on in the schools, a lot of things that you didn't have before that you have now, a lot of things that we're losing because of this whole COVID thing. And it's not the right situation. But I look around these schools when I first came in here 3 years ago, and CIP just kept getting thrown to the side, and you guys didn't have certain things, and now we've come to a full circle with a lot of things in this buildings and all these buildings and everything that's going on. But I appreciate people coming out here. But, you know, I'll say to Trent's mom the same thing. You saw this in action tonight, and you can make that change. And we want to just keep working with you. We're going to work with Jeremy. We're going to work with the athletic director, but that's our job. So thanks again for coming up.
So I'm going to kind of echo part of where you were in the middle there, which was, you know, I've done a couple stints on this board, better part of 12 years. And this current adaptation of this board, I've never seen anybody put in as much work as this board has. When you talk about the fact that even now during the summer, when generally other boards would meet once a month and then maybe skip August, this board meets, I know me, myself, we get out of work, you know, by 6 o'clock, we're logged in to a 2-3 hour meeting 2-3 nights a week, every week, especially through this. And this board has been like that. It's been an active board right along. There has been a lot of things that have been done. When you look at the work that's happened at Maplewood, the work that's happened here, all of the technology that we've been trying to purchase and plan for, all the things that we were trying to get done, but now we couldn't because of this pandemic. We had a lot of things in place. There's a lot of work getting done. And I know that, you know, a lot of you are upset with us tonight, and I understand. But a lot of you know some of us, you know our kids, you know our wives and our husbands, and you've got to know that when we've been doing this for the past several years and all the work that we've been doing, we're not doing it for a night like this. This is not what we're looking forward to. This is not what we want to do. This is not what we put in all the hours and time for. We do it for making Maplewood look the way that it looks and providing technology and all the other things that we can to better everything for the students and the staff of this community, not to have a night like this. And we knew that all of these discussions the last several weeks were going to be hard. There'd be a lot of upset people on multiple sides. We could have done this in Zoom like a lot of other communities did. We decided to do this so you guys could come in and we could see you face to face. So I think this board has a lot of credit for doing that. We could have hid. We didn't. So I just want to thank the board for all the work that they've been putting in and continue doing that hard work. With that, I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Matt Hanlon?
Yes.
Steve Potter?
Yes.
Tom McCallion?
Yes.
Jerry Cannon?
Yes.
Cody Donahue?
Yes.
Ed Lavasser?
Yes.
Maggie Larson?
Yes.
John O'Brien?
Yes.
Todd Marsh?
Yes. Meeting is adjourned.